right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Passive Cash Flow Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Fragnito. And we have an interesting guest here, a local celebrity from flipping Boston. We have Dave Seymour with Freedom Venture Investments. How are we doing today, Dave?
We're doing well, man. Thanks for having me on the show, Aaron. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, when your team reached out to me here, I said, wow, this guy's a TV star on flipping Boston, and I wanted to have you on the show here, and you do some ground development and work with investors. But before we dig in all that, I guess my question is, I can't even really watch those
Yeah.
those HGTV shows. They just kind of some of them I actually haven't seen flipping Boston, to be honest, but some of them they're just ridiculous. It's like, we bought this for 200,000, we put 50,000 renovations in, and we sold it for 300,000, so we made $50,000 in profit. And I'm like, oh my,
Yeah.
I'm screaming at the TV like,
Yeah.
operating costs, like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
Holding
Yeah.
costs, acquisition costs, closing costs. Like, you lost money on this. If I buy something for 200, put 50 into it, sell for 300, you lose money because of all those costs that are involved in the flipping of real estate. So they drive me crazy. So I just watch other things like Yellowstone, great show. But
Yellowstone's a great show, dude. I would rather watch Yellowstone with that beautiful redheaded lady in there than I would deal with reality TV shows for
yeah,
sure.
Beth,
With
yeah,
you 100%.
I need a Beth on my staff sometimes, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's her name, Beth. Yeah,
Oh
killer,
my gosh.
killer in
Yeah,
a tight dress. What a great character
right.
she plays there.
Yeah, she'll
That's
drive me
great
crazy.
stuff. Yeah.
So anyway, what was it like being on a reality TV show there?
Yeah, look, it's to your point, the word needs to be emphasis show, right? At the end
Mhm,
of the statement, reality TV show. It's
mhm,
unfortunate, and I'll hit it because you did. It's unfortunate that it's allowed to be as loose as it is with development numbers, whether it's a single family flip or even in our world today, be honest, right? There's some guys out there slinging some pretty heavy crap against the wall with 7, 10 year projections at 7% rent increases, and
mhm,
they think it's a great deal, right? It's the same
mhm,
it's the same stuff on a larger scale. It's just BS in a box. But
yeah.
the world of reality TV shows is an interesting animal in and of itself. It creates a couple of things. It's treasure hunting for those who are not happy with their financial position. It
Mhm,
also touches on the honeydew list for every Sunday, right? Honeydew this, honeydew that. I want this paint color. I want this kitchen. I want this bathroom. And
mhm,
then you can add the dynamics of construction characters and money guys and girls, et cetera, et cetera. So
mhm,
you could write a pretty good soap opera show
mhm.
without it actually having to be in reality. You know what I mean? Like, you could play those characters perfectly.
Uh-huh.
And what happened is when A&E TV um, looks at a company that's doing any kind of development work, they want to see characters first. They
Yeah.
are not vested in the honesty of the numbers. They're not
Mhm,
vested in anything. They want to see a piece of crap. They want to see some drama. They want to see a beautiful house on the back end and a
mhm,
happy couple buying the home. That's it.
mhm.
That's their model.
Yeah.
But for me, I landed in that world by a set of circumstances, which today I believe was kind of like a little bit of divine intervention. I think God's got a plan for all of us, and His
Sure.
plan for me was, you're going down this road, whether you
Uh-huh.
like it or not.
Yeah.
But I came out of an education space, the seminar world.
Mhm,
I was a student in an education space. I had done 16 years in the fire department as a firefighter and paramedic, and work
mm,
construction on my days off, as most firefighters tend to do.
mm,
And that was where I really learned the value of sticks and bricks. I also
mhm.
learned the value of digging a ditch in January trying to get down to a frost line. So,
Right.
I've got scars to prove it. I learned
Uh-huh.
how to navigate within the ego world of construction, whether large or small.
Mhm,
And during that period of time, I'm doing this seminar stuff. I'm doing construction, but what I found was in the education space, I had gone from a blue collar mentality to an investment mentality, and
mhm,
with that came some pretty dramatic changes in my life, and one of which was learning how to use other people's money in real estate transactions, learning how to negotiate a good deal so that everybody wins, learning how to, not be the pig that gets fat, right? Just
Mhm.
just do good works and make great money is what my mentors told me. And
Mhm.
one of my mentors was in the internet marketing space, a guy by the name of Russell Brunson.
Mhm.
And Russell sent me a link to a TV show application, and
Mhm.
I knew that I've been around these internet marketing guys and girls enough to know that I needed to separate myself. What's the difference between Aaron and David? Why should
Mhm.
people listen to David instead of Aaron? Why should people listen to Bob instead of Shirley? Right?
Mhm.
What can you do to differentiate yourself? And let's be honest, there's a lot of noise in the marketplace, a
Sure.
lot of bling bling. I got a Rolls
Yeah.
Royce and a
Yeah. Yeah.
private jet and all that
Uh-huh.
crap.
Uh-huh. Yep.
But I used that knowledge to attract the attention of the people making the show. And I
Mhm.
sent in an application that was loaded with profanity, things
Mhm.
that I should never say, neither in church nor in front of my parents or my grandmother. But
Uh-huh.
it got the attention. It got the attention of the people who were making a show. So they came
Yeah.
out to us, got a little demo, and then they said, "You guys are funny." That big English guy. I'm from England originally. I immigrated in '86 from London. But they said that big English guy looks like he could get angry. Oh, we want
Yeah.
to see more of that.
Right.
And so
Right.
flipping Boston was born, and that's how
Mhm.
it started. Yeah,
That's cool. That's cool. That's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
At People's Capital Group, we help you invest in real estate. Build your wealth by owning professionally managed apartment buildings in the northern New Jersey market. We want to show you how owning real estate is attainable, even for the busy professionals that don't have the time or experience investing in real estate. Now, we only work with select people who are serious about building wealth. So find out if you qualify at peoplescapitalgroup.com.
Yeah.
And they compensate you, right, for your time on the show, right? Like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you want to know the numbers? Because I'm more than happy to tell them to you.
I'm
You ready?
curious. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
sure.
I am.
So
Right.
the first three episodes we did,
Uh-huh.
they're your test run.
Uh-huh.
Me and the guy that I did the show with, we made $1,500 a piece.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
So
Okay.
I really got to flip a house and I really got to make money. Otherwise, I'm
Yeah.
going out of business. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once we hit the ratings numbers that exceeded their expectations, the first show aired, and I think it was like 1.5 or 1.7 million viewers who
Mm-hmm.
stayed and watched from beginning to end
Right.
on a Saturday morning in that time slot. And
Okay.
they're like, "You guys are gold. We
Mm-hmm.
want 15 more episodes."
Okay. Okay.
So that's when we brought in representation.
Mm-hmm.
Now
Mm-hmm.
you've
Okay.
got some value add.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think we went from 1,500 Aaron to maybe I don't know 12 or 15,000 an episode.
Okay.
Not
Okay.
not you're not it's not Kim Kardashian money, right? It's
Right.
not
Right. Right.
Kadunk.
Uh-huh.
It's not
Uh-huh.
Joanna and Chip and Joanna Gaines or any of
Yeah.
that stuff. But we did 15, and then they asked for another. I can't remember what it was. The third tranche of
Right.
episodes
Mm-hmm.
was 30,000.
Mm-hmm.
So, from a business perspective, what do you do with that? Obviously, there's inherent value in it.
Mm-hmm.
So for
Mm-hmm.
us, it was to then create marketing funnels, either to our own education, because I came from that background,
Mm-hmm.
or whether it was for locally getting good leads to do deals, locally to raise capital,
Right.
continuing to protect your reputation at all costs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the real money or the real value in a reality TV show isn't the 30 grand for an episode. It was
Mm-hmm.
interesting. They sent the wrong contract to us, and I got to see how much they were getting paid by the TV company. So you've got A&E TV, you've got
Right.
a production company that makes the show, and then you've got us, the talent.
Yeah.
And the disparity between, I'll just tell you, it was six figures and above per episode, and I'm
Oof.
making I'm making 30 grand, right?
Oh,
So
wow. Wow. Geez.
yeah, yeah, there's a lot of money in it, man. There's a lot of
Yeah.
money
Yeah.
in that
Well,
stuff.
good thing you
But
had
it was good.
representation. Yeah, it sounds like you did all right, on it. But it's but you got
Yeah.
to hit it. You have to get the ratings to get any type of sizable income from the show. It sounds like, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Then once you get that show and you're the expert,
Mm-hmm.
the amount of people that would come out of the woodwork
Mm-hmm.
that would start pitching us their reality TV ideas. It's
Yeah.
funny, the people that are absorbed in that world, every
Mm-hmm.
one of them thinks they can do better,
Right.
right?
Right.
And demo reels up the yin yang, sizzle reels from everybody and anybody.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it takes a certain something to have a show. And I
Right.
hope that never comes across as ego. I always talk about Dave from Flipping Boston as some other guy over there. Because
Yeah.
otherwise, because there was a performance, man.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
it's showtime.
Right.
Who you're talking to right now is Dave
Hmm.
Seymour, the real
Hmm.
estate developer, the
Hmm.
firefighter, the husband,
Yeah.
the father. It's a
Yeah.
different guy altogether than the TV guy. But
Right.
leveraging that is critical. When you're sitting, we got invited into New York to sit down on Squawk Box with Joe Kiernan and Becky Quick and
Oh,
Andrew
fun. Yeah.
Sorkin. You're sitting
Yeah.
there in the studio.
Yeah.
That guy's somebody. That guy
Yeah.
sitting in the studio. I'm nobody, but that guy sitting in the
Yeah.
studio, that's
Yeah.
somebody.
Uh-huh.
And learning how to leverage that. It's a business. It's an asset.
Uh-huh.
It's an asset. Can you work that asset to the best of your potential? And if you ask me honestly, if I had, I would tell
Hmm.
you no.
Hmm.
I would tell you no, because
Hmm.
along the way there's a lot of opportunities that aren't based in my own moral and Christian values. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? It's
Right.
like
Right.
just
Yeah.
because it's legal doesn't mean it always sits moral. You know
Of
what I'm saying?
course. Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
we
Yeah.
personally our family and my choices have kept me at a lower income bracket, but I
Uh-huh.
sleep well at night. So
That's more important, and to have that faith and that moral direction is more important, and to follow it,
for
uh,
sure.
selling your soul. I mean, that's you don't want to be some Hollywood elite. I mean, those you before you
I've
know it,
seen it.
you'd be
Alan,
flying
I
to
saw it firsthand, man. I saw it
the
firsthand. It's
you'd be on the
kind of
Epstein
interesting.
list, man. No,
Yeah. I'm not going to mention his name, but there was one guy, he was part of our education
yeah.
um, group there, and him and his
Uh-huh.
wife hit it pretty big on HGTV. And when they first came in, they were the new kids on the block, and we were the cool guys because we already had, 10
Yeah.
seasons under our belt or whatever.
Mhm.
And then you saw that change. You saw that
Mhm.
change, and they went from being the appreciative,
Mhm.
somewhat timid,
Mhm.
respectful
Yeah.
group.
Right.
So then being next time I saw him at an event that we were doing in Vegas,
Mhm.
guy comes rolling in with a freaking entourage. He's got and straight up, his wife is carrying like a little Bichon Frise under her arm. I'm like,
Right.
what the what? Like, if I could drop a few f bombs, I would. I was like, what are these? What happened?
Yeah.
What
Yeah. Yeah.
happened? And
Hmm.
it's ego. He's got out
Yeah. Yeah.
ego, and I
Yeah.
I don't look in business and in TV world and in
Hmm.
church and kids sports and whatever it is.
Hmm.
I try very, very hard, and sometimes I fail, but I try very, very hard not to tear somebody else down
Hmm.
to build me up. Right?
Right. Right.
Don't get ahead at the expense of somebody else.
Sure. Sure.
Maybe I could earn a better living. I don't know, but it is what it is.
No, it seems like you're doing fine over there, Dave. I think you made the right choices, and that's important to use that. That shows kind of a launching point. It's certainly
Mm,
a great resume builder, and it definitely helps you get great notoriety during that
sure.
time. And you can go a couple different. You could start selling window dressings like Chip and Joanna James. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
and whatever
Yeah. Yeah.
they
Yeah.
do, but it's a complicated space, and you can only sell so many things in this world. If you're
Hmm. Hmm.
actually developing real estate and actually flipping houses, as you do,
Yeah.
that does require a lot of focus and attention and skill set to manage and develop that business.
Mm, mm.
Or you can go the route of selling education and products and so on and building a brand there, and there's nothing wrong with that, and there's a lot of growth potential there as well. But I think the reason a lot of us real estate investors get into this is because our passion is actually in developing and doing real estate, doing deals in
Yeah.
real estate,
Yeah.
taking an ugly
Yeah.
house and turning it into a nice home that a family's going to enjoy, or developing an apartment complex or a place where people are going to live and build and grow their families and their lives. So um, I personally, that's where my passion lies. Never really much got into the education space or selling product space, and maybe I should have, right? Maybe that there's a lot of income to be made there. And it is a great way to become a thought leader in the space, especially selling education. But I like your story there. It's definitely an interesting way to go about it, and really exciting that you were selected on the show there and did so many different seasons. And then so as that wound down, it sounds like you eventually made your way to Florida, and now you're developing real estate in Florida. Is that correct?
Yeah, we are. So I stayed in Boston. I'm in Boston. I've got offices up here in Boston, offices in Fort Myers,
Got it.
Florida.
Hmm.
So at the end of the COVID debacle, I
Hmm.
had a lending business, hard money lending business. I was working with a $50 million line of credit from a firm out of New York. And when COVID hit, they shut down my lending capital.
Wow.
Put me out of business pretty quick.
Yeah.
I was blessed that I had enough resources to still follow through with my borrowers. We had about 16 million in the pipe that we needed to fund, but we got that funded,
Right.
even though we lost our big source of capital because we were just turning the notes over. But
Yeah.
when that business crapped the bed, it was like, obviously you lick the wounds. Everyone's
Mhm.
going through this crazy fear factor for a couple of weeks. Then you put some intelligence into the mix, and it's like, okay, the world isn't ending. The world's coming back. It might look a little
Right.
bit different. What do we do next? And I reconnected with my partner down in Fort Myers, Walter Novicki, and I had another partner with me, a young guy, Eric, who actually came out of one of the events that I was training at. And I said to Walter, he's my age, late 50s, early 60s. I'm like, what's next, man? What's this COVID crap? And Walter's concept was that, he'd been syndicating deals his whole career, 30 plus years. But he said, onesies, twosies was his bread and butter.
Right.
Find a deal, raise the money, do the deal, small group,
Yeah.
maybe 5, 10 investors max. He said, would you be interested in using that guy from the TV show to raise capital?
Mhm.
And we'll try the fund structure, and we'll develop and do some stuff in Florida.
Mhm.
We believe there was going to be a lot of opportunities post COVID because of the lack of capital flow, the lack of challenge.
Yeah.
There was a lot of stuff going on.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
we all know what happened. The government stepped in and screwed everything up, as they generally tend to do, and
Yep. Pretty much.
throw trillions of free dollars without
Mhm.
any goods or services being traded for them. Oh,
Right.
by the way, don't tell me about inflation. Like,
Mhm.
that's the cause. It's
Yeah.
too much money.
100%.
Not
Yeah.
enough. It's
Uh-huh.
simple. It's not rocket science.
Basic
Um,
economics. Yeah. Mhm.
yes, basic economic supply and demand. So anyway, that's what we chose to do. So, we launched Freedom Venture Investments as it stands today. Maybe 250 million assets under management and or in contract with potential land development going through various phases.
Mhm.
It's been a challenge, man.
Mhm.
It's a different game. It's a
Yeah.
different game. I mean, the fundamentals are the same. Don't ever lose money. Do
Right.
whatever you can at any and all costs not to lose money, yours
Right.
or an investor's.
Uh-huh.
And we've been blessed to be in that position. But
Mm.
when you're a steward of millions of dollars of other people's capital,
Mhm.
you got to do it the right way, man. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I'm not sleeping at night,
Right.
and
Right. Mhm.
that's not good. I'm a steward of other people's capital. That's my number one job.
Yeah.
After that, how do I velocitize that capital?
Mhm.
Can I pivot? Is my
Mhm.
documentation structured that I can make choices and move fast when we need to?
Right.
So we've hit some bumps, but God willing, so far we've got over every one of them.
At People's Capital Group, we help you invest in real estate. Build your wealth by owning professionally managed apartment buildings in the northern New Jersey market. We want to show you how owning real estate is attainable, even for the busy professionals that don't have the time or experience investing in real estate. Now, we only work with select people who are serious about building wealth, so find out if you qualify at peoplescapitalgroup.com.
Good. Good. Yeah. I mean, that's a tough space. Costs have skyrocketed in the last 4
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Labor, materials, land.
Yeah.
So I know development it's been very hard to pencil out. Development's really slowed down, especially the last couple of years.
Mhm.
And then there's been a lot of supply to hit the market too, especially in Florida. You hear
Yeah.
rumors of kind of oversupply and things like that.
Yeah.
Why the Florida market? What pushed you down there from the beautiful weather in Boston there?
Yeah. We can talk for sunshine alone. No matter what no matter what statistics, look, we all know that statisticians lie, and liars use
Yeah, there's
statistics or whatever
and
that
then
saying is.
there's
We
liars,
can.
damn liars, and then stats, right?
There you go. Thank
Statistics.
you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, supply and demand fundamental 101. Is there enough population and rent growth and
Mhm.
wage increase in the marketplace to
Mhm.
sustain our business?
Yeah.
And then what's the absorption rate? How quick are we absorbing? How quick are we building? What are the options to the population? And the
Yeah.
two main drivers to stay in Florida are, one, people still can't afford to buy a single family home. They're forced to be renters, so they're renters by choice in that sense. And then number two is the fact that the population growth continues. And what's interesting in Florida is the median age is increasing from the bottom up instead of the top down. So we all know, if you've got blue hair and you have a walker, you're going to Florida, right? It's God's waiting room, they call it. But what we're seeing is that the urban professionals are moving down there. The the median wage has increased over time.
Yeah.
And then we've got this retirement phenomenon with Florida where it's still one or two in the country. It's kind of like Arizona and Florida are the one and two states for retirees.
Right.
And in Florida, for every one retiree that moves there, it garners 4 service jobs, and primarily in the medical field. So now we look at the medical field and we say, okay, where are the hospitals? Where are the medical field? And what do they have for housing options? Again, they can't afford single family homes. So what we do is even with the increased units coming into the market, we focus on what we call the missed middle, which is workforce housing. So I'm not building condos that are going to rent at $3,500, $4,000 a month. And I'm not building to the lower cost basis either, the Section 8 type tenant base. Nothing wrong with it, not moral, just a number on a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
So we focus on that missed middle, that workforce housing. So that's my nurses, firefighters, police officers, small business owners who just can't find quality housing in the market. So that's number one. And then and second to that is, you're absolutely right, that the primary markets are oversaturated. So we go tertiary, we go secondary and tertiary markets outside the MSAs. And we start looking in those areas and we find these pockets of opportunity throughout Florida. We avoid the coastline. Hurricanes are hurricanes. They're real. We've been through quite a few of them down there in the time that we've been established in Florida.
Yeah.
And they do change. Not only do they change the landscape physically, they change the landscape of the mentality and also your numbers each time.
Right.
So it's fluid, but they're going to be building in Florida for the next 1,000 years, man. As long as nobody drops a silly bomb on something from somewhere, they'll be building it for a long time.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, Florida's a hot market. In New Jersey here, when you turn 65, you are sent a plane ticket to fly to Florida, and it's a pretty nice gig, and some people take it, some people don't, right? So it's a lot of people, that's kind of what you do here in Jersey. You basically move down to Florida once you retire, and it's a really easy flight. I mean, you could like fly JetBlue for like $99 or something. You get it's an easy flight. Obviously,
it's volume pricing, my brother. That's what it is. Volume pricing.
Yeah. So Florida and Jersey, we kind of worked. We're cousins. We're very similar. And same with this, we see the Carolinas a lot with that as well. But it's interesting. Like, people in Jersey, they're more likely to, I feel like, invest in Jersey and Florida than like Jersey and PA or something.
For sure.
Like
it's like Ohio. I keep on getting these deals in Ohio, right? And I'm sure there's money to be made in Ohio, but it doesn't. No offense to any Ohioans who, is that right? Ohioans.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Sounds good. I don't care. That's what I said. But I start comparing an Ohio project to a Florida project, to a Texas project, to a Carolina project. I can't find the excitement in it, right? Think about it. Our investors, my partner said to me one time, he said, you always got to picture our investors going through a book of PPMs, maybe 3 or 4 PPMs, smoking a big cigar with a cognac and saying, okay, I'll put 50 here, 100 there, 250 over there. He said, your investment needs to make sense, and it needs to make them excited. Right. And then they start looking at the equity multiples. And if you can start putting, 2.5, 3 equity multiples in front of them under solid underwriting, that isn't exaggerated and stretched, that's been stress tested, he said, we're going to do well. So up here, we call them snowbirds, right? They're the snowbirds. They go from New England down to Florida and back. So we got them too.
So you're in the build to rent space. Is that ideally right? Your BTR,
correct?
Buzzword.
Correct. Yeah.
BTR. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a hot space. I see a lot of people doing that. I was speaking with, I was at the Best Ever conference about just 2 days ago, and I was at the bar with Neil Bawa, and we were
Oh
chatting.
yeah, I know Neil.
Yep.
Yeah,
And interesting guy, very sharp businessman. And
yeah,
he
yeah.
was showing me his next venture, which is already launched, and his goal is to basically build 10,000 build to rent houses, like basic,
Hmm.
no crazy amenities, nice little backyards, 2-car garage, maybe 1,800 square foot little homes that just are connected. They're basically townhouses, but they're not like
Hmm.
those big
Hmm.
luxury townhouses you see here in
Hmm.
Jersey.
Hmm.
And they're affordable, and not a lot of whistles and bells, but nice new piece of real estate to rent. And it seemed like a really interesting business model, and so he's working with that, and that is, I think, the next. Well, it's already you're seeing it, the next kind of getting a nice little home you can rent with a garage, an American dream there, and it's cheaper to rent now than it is to own. And
Hmm.
that's a really nice model. I think that I see a lot of success potential in.
There was a couple of companies in Arizona, and I'll paraphrase because I'm not 100% sure on the timeline, but
Hmm.
they kind of proved the concept in Arizona with
Hmm.
like 200 single family homes in one complex, for example,
Yeah.
separated just as you described them, and
Hmm.
they penciled out. And what was
Hmm.
interesting is that you know we always sell the concept of multifamily in the sense of it's one roof or two roofs maximum, right? And
Hmm.
we'd always sell the concept of it's less in maintenance. What was interesting is I read some literature on them after they've maybe been in 3 to 5 years in a couple of projects. Their maintenance costs were a lot lower than they were in their apartment complexes, and this is where it's interesting because although they were renters, they bought ownership mentality to the assets. I'll say
Hmm.
that again because it was a single family home. They had
Right.
a little bit of grass,
Hmm.
place for the dog, place to put the grill,
Yep.
kids going to school buses up and down the all American street, right?
Yep. Yep.
The human psyche said, this isn't a rental, this is
Hmm.
my home. And as
Yeah.
soon as somebody says it's a home, that
Mm.
respect for the physical asset changed.
Yeah.
And so it's being tested out. It's just like
Right.
the office complexes now, right?
Right.
All this empty office space being converted to residential. I see a lot of
Right.
stuff on that too. It's another hot
Sure.
ticket, but
Sure.
we don't know
Yeah.
if that's going to work. We don't know if
Yeah.
that's going to
Yeah.
work. There's a
Yeah.
lot of
We were
stuff that's
under.
in trial.
At People's Capital Group, we help you invest in real estate. Build your wealth by owning professionally managed apartment buildings in the northern New Jersey market. We want to show you how owning real estate is attainable, even for the busy professionals that don't have the time or experience investing in real estate. Now, we only work with select people who are serious about building wealth, so find out if you qualify at peoplescapitalgroup.com.
Yeah, that's actually kind of complicated. We were underwriting a deal the other day, and for that, and the challenges officers just made totally differently. The amount of
Yeah,
load you put on the floors and everything like that. But that's a whole different
yeah,
conversation. But I could see
yeah.
that pride of ownership is definitely a thing. When you have a single family home, and that's what a lot of single family rent landlords say. The reason they
Hmm.
focus on single family rentals is because the tenant does cut the grass and repair little dings and dents themselves and kind of like
Yeah,
take care of the place better. Where in an apartment building, you're a renter, and you're going to be more quickly to just call the property management company and complain
hmm,
about
hmm,
this or that, or
hmm.
require that to be fixed, or hopefully
Yeah,
at least take your trash out to where you're supposed to take it to. But
yeah, yeah.
using the tenants sometimes. That's good. That's good. How are you handling the fact that with inflation, with increased labor costs and material costs? It seemed like you were
Yeah,
kind of getting this started in one of the highest times of inflation.
yeah.
Are you still able to find deals that can pencil out?
Yeah, we are. They got to be off market. They've got to have
Mm-hmm.
some kind of hair attached to them that makes them more valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to overcome the obstacles that most other people look at and walk away from.
Yeah.
So if you can do that, you can pencil them out. They're maybe not as strong as they were 3 years ago, but they're
Yeah.
deals that can get done. And I
Mm-hmm.
think also one of the big things in this fluid marketplace inflation, geopolitical, all of the chaos that we've been dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Does your company have the ability to pivot, or are they boxed into one strategy?
Yeah.
So one of the blessings for us is, I always said, we're small enough to find, we're small enough to have great relationships with, sellers, buyers, investors, contractors, but we're also big enough to find the right deals that pencil out and make sense.
Yeah.
And then that pivot concept for us, we have a piece of land on McGregor Boulevard in Fort Myers that was penciled out to be a mixed-use building, office, and a couple of stores downstairs, penciled out beautifully 2.5 years ago. Raised 1.5 to put the deal together, all cash.
Mm-hmm.
Hurricane, and then inflation. Some challenges at the city. Somebody didn't want to tick a box that had already been ticked by somebody else. That box cost me another 6 or 8 months. Blah 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 blah.
Oh my gosh.
So now I got a piece of dirt and a business plan that doesn't fit anymore. To build doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So what do? Do you sell it at a loss and say to your investors, "Sorry guys, it is what it is. I can't change the facts of the case." Or do you look for a pivot? And for us, we were blessed that right across the street is a high-end golf and yacht club, and then high-end condo community. There's like 3 golf courses on there. And they approached us, the tennis club approached us and said, they've got these pickleball people. They keep on coming on our courts. We want a pickleball facility.
Right.
And we know you own the land across the street. Will you build it?
Right.
Now I'm in the pickleball business. But, my investors, instead of a loss, will be looking at, maybe an 18% cash on cash for the first, 3 years that we're stabilized. But we're stabilized because the tennis and country club is buying 500 memberships annually every year at a fixed amount. So, the cash flow is a beautiful thing. So
yeah, sure.
Are you fluid? Can you make money under all conditions? So that's important. I don't know companies that are able to always think that way. Maybe we're just lucky. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I don't really believe in luck. I believe in divine intervention, like yourself here, another
I like that
Christian man. But also, they say it's about being prepared. And an opportunity and preparedness meet. That's when you find luck, right? They say.
Luck.
So,
that's the definition.
Right. And so it sounds like you're prepared. You have a good investor base. You have a good knowledge of the market. Good developers and builders to get the structures off the ground. But that's great. The pickleball, I mean, that is a pretty hot little, hopefully not, I was going to say fad.
Crazy.
But that if I say fad, then that'll bring you bad luck. I think it's here to stay.
No, I tell you, it's growing.
Yeah,
Look,
it is.
Let's say it dies out in 10 years. Am I okay with that? Yep.
Yeah. By then your investors will have made hold.
Yeah. We're all good. So
probably refinance, get that money back, once you're stabilized. So there you go. All right, Dave, very good. So how can people find you and learn more about what you do there?
Yeah, sure. Dave at freedomventure.com. Dave at freedomventure.com. Go to the website, Freedom Venture Investments. Check me out on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's a good space. We've got some free education there around what we do, how we do it, how another investor could choose to do it, some passive stuff active stuff if they want to do the deals themselves. So Google me, you'll find me.
All right. Very good. Very good. Thanks so much for coming on here, Dave. Really enjoyed learning about what you got going on and a little insight into the reality TV world, the dog eat dog, heartless world. Hey, man, at least you didn't find yourself on the Epstein jet. You didn't make it.
I'm not on there.
Thank
I
God.
didn't earn enough money to get the invite.
Yeah. You'd be on that list coming out by the CIA and have bigger problems. Your pickleball courts. So
no,
it's all good. And to our listeners who are listening here, share and subscribe what we do. We're been over 170 episodes here, the Passive Cash Flow Podcast. It's about 4 or 5 years. And of course, I'm Aaron Fragnito of People's Capital Group. We help people build and preserve their wealth through New Jersey apartment buildings up here where the sun is always shining. Oh no, that's Florida. It's
that's Florida.
Yeah, that's Florida. That's right. Yeah, but something like that. Now we have good model up here. So take a look at peoplescapitalgroup.com as well and share this episode with someone you think would gain value from learning more about real estate investments and business solutions. And our last guest was a tax specialist. So we also focus on IRAs and different ways to multiply and preserve and build your wealth, usually in real estate, but all different business strategies as well. So if you're enjoying this content, give us a like, give us a share. We're on all major podcast platforms and YouTube. And thanks a lot, Dave, for coming on. One more time, what's that website?
freedomventureinvestments.com. freedomventure.com. freedomventure.com.
Excellent. All right. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.
Take care, man. Thanks.